Welcome to the Familial podcast, episode 8. I got a great friend of mine, childhood, like one of my best friends, Dominic Colombo. Dude, I just wanted to say, like, coming into this, like, I've wanted to get you on here for so long. You have no idea.
Really?
And we're finally making it happen, which is good. Wish it was sooner. But
hmm
you and me, we have a great history. We were good friends, and we met
Oh yeah.
in what, like fifth grade, sixth grade, probably.
It would have been sixth grade because that's when I joined Tinker Verde. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
sixth grade is when I met you. I remember it was Miss Law's class, and you didn't have
yeah,
anywhere to sit. And you ended up in my group or something, and then
yeah.
we ended up
I
just like
remember. Yeah,
chopping it up.
I remember Jake was supposed to be the guy who would. He was the one that was like my what you call it, the dude who's like, stick with him. He's gonna show you the ropes. And I remember the first day, he told me what did he say? He was like something about like when we were out for like recess. He's like, "Don't play with those kids," and he was pointing at like everyone running around with the football or something like that. And I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay." And then I did the exact same thing tomorrow, and I played with you guys. I was like, I just want to have fun. I got energy.
It's true. It's true,
Yeah.
dude. And that was the way we accepted you with open arms. It's so
Oh
funny
yeah.
as kids, like there's no I literally think what brought us together was I wore a Yankees hat or something, and you were like, "Oh,
I
I'm
think it
from
was
New
something like
York,"
that.
or you
Yeah.
from New York, and then ever since we're just homies.
Oh yeah.
I will say the thing that brought us like close was probably that trip to DC, or
Oh,
the
100%.
yeah, that was like the
Oh
first
yeah.
time. That was the first time the boys got together. So we had
Yeah.
Mooney on the podcast. I want to say
Mhm.
episode 4 or something. And Mooney is a part of the boys group. I still have to get all of
Yeah.
them on. Tyler Cook, I
Oh yeah.
talked with. Di Maria. It's been like I want to get them on.
Mhm.
But again, just really quick, like thank you so much for doing this, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely,
you
bro.
know,
Happy to be
you
here.
yeah, dude. And you and me, we talked about before this call start or before the podcast started, talked about the Bradley Colombo campaign. And that was
Oh
such a
my god.
staple in my life. You have no idea. Like
Oh yeah.
like that brought me and you so close, and just doing that together and building a website and
That was
just
so
running a
much fun.
campaign was so fun. But
Yeah, because
I do have
especially
a
because I know that
go on.
with that election, I was so confident that I would not win. I really thought Addison was going to kick my ass. I really thought it, but I
I
remember when
was
it
so
came out, and I
confident that
was
we were.
because I think didn't I call you? I think I called you when the announcements were out. I called you and I was like, Brett, holy shit, we did it!
I know, dude. It was
It was
pretty
great.
big for us. I'm not gonna lie. That was
Oh
like
yeah,
I don't know. That was high school. Like we had nothing else
yeah.
going on really. Like that was just I don't know. It was fun. It was fun to do, and I was very confident that we were gonna pull out that W, which
Oh
which we
yeah.
did. And it wasn't even about winning. It was more so just let me have this memory with my homie, and
Oh yeah.
that's what we had. But so you and me, we were very close, and then naturally, like we graduate high school, and you moved to Flagstaff,
hmm
I moved to Tempe, and we barely even talked, dude. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like you're still my brother, and I still view
Absolutely.
you in that light. But I do have a question for you. When it came
hmm
to that transition to college, you were 6 hours away from your family, 6 hours away from your friends, right? You
hmm
were in the middle of nowhere per se, and
Yeah.
a
I was in
whole
the
new
mountains.
environment, whole new
Oh yeah.
environment. It's fucking snowing outside. It's
hmm
20 degrees. Like, what was that transition like?
Oh man, I think the biggest thing for me that really helped me kind of cement it is because at the time I did have a girlfriend,
Right,
and I thought that that was like a sure thing. I thought that was like the relationship, and then she cheated on me. But
right,
the thing with that was it when that happened, it did make me feel extremely alone because it was like I was in such an environment that was completely new. It was a place with 4 seasons. I didn't experience that ever. So it was something that was a huge step for me that made me realize I have to find my own identity because I know that that was something that I really struggled with in high school whenever I went to like talk to either family members or like my therapist at the time, stuff like that, where it was like I don't feel like I had an identity. You know,
Mm.
I was with the boys. You know, I had a place there, but I didn't. Outside of that, I was kind of just known as like, what was the? I remember there was a term you gave me in high school. It was like I was popular amongst the unpopular. You know, do you
Dude,
remember
I
that term?
said that?
Yeah, no, I never took it as
Dude,
an insult.
okay.
I
All
took it
right.
because we always said like it was perfect because you
That's what
attracted everyone that was popular in school for elections, and I attracted everyone that was like the band nerds, the people who just weren't as popular, you know? Like those people like knew me because I was in those smaller kind of
mm,
clubs or smaller type of crowds. So I remember when I moved up here, and the first thing that happened is my roommate, who's uh, he was a great guy. His name was Thomas. I still talk to him here and there, but it was tough. It was definitely tough. It was something that I didn't think I was mentally ready for, but I wanted because I knew that like college is supposed to be like it's a whole new chapter of your life. It's a whole new page to your story that I wanted to experience fully. And I'm glad that I took that step because like if I didn't, I would have been stuck with that ex, and that would have been
right.
terrible. So being able to have that kind of confidence to get out of my shell and not even like really get out. I pretty much kicked that shell to its pieces. I had to. It was the
Right.
only way for me to grow. Is I had to just push forward, you know? And I think that if I didn't do that, I'd be a completely different person, you know? So, I
Without a
mean, to
doubt.
answer your question, wait, say again?
I said without a doubt, and it's so interesting that you say you're struggling like with your identity in that time because anytime I talked to you or anytime I looked at you, it was like Dom is so undeniably him. You know, there was no changing. There was no like seriously, like there was no changing. There was no alteration of your character when you're around different people. I
Mhm.
regret ever saying popular amongst the unpopular because
Oh, I never
that
took that as an
that
insult. I thought it
I
was
know
great.
I know, but it is like at the end of the day, like you were just like you were
Mhm.
just you, and you attracted people who, yeah, of everyone, like like
Mhm.
that was kind of you and me, and that was our thing. Is like, we talked to everyone. We didn't really give a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
we cared about people, and that's how I
Oh,
move, and that's how
100%.
I operate. But when it came to like that sense of identity, you said you had a therapist, and like in
Mhm.
those in those sessions, like what helped you find that identity, or like what were some of the questions that you asked, and like how did you start that process?
So the biggest thing that I know that we talked about was something called mindfulness. I don't know
Mm,
how much knowledge you have on that topic, but mindfulness for me, it's all about knowing. It's looking outside yourself. So it was always like not just like analysis or observation of people around you or environments around you. It's about what you impact on those people. So like I remember like with college especially, I kind of gave my own identity of like I was the guy who brought the board games. I was the fun one, you know.
mm,
They wanted to do something fun that day. I had the games, I had Jackbox, I had all the stuff that it was like I could provide that kind of stuff, and I knew that that was like kind of my role at the time. And of course, I grew out of that, and it's like just like everything else with people is like you have your crowd, you get your role in your crowd, and then you move out from that crowd. And it's important to know not the limitations, but the perspective that you have and how people perceive you. At least that's something I really learned through mindfulness. But I know it also did very much help me kind of like calm myself. And like, I know one of the biggest exercises she had me do was feel yourself, not weirdly, but like feel
yeah,
yourself through, like when I brush my teeth. So every morning I brush my teeth and I would kind of trace in my head like okay, I want to feel the sensation in my fingers, like in my left hand. I want that sensation to travel through my arm, through my chest. I want it to go down my right leg. I don't know, like there was a whole thing that you could just do to kind of be mindful of your body, of your presence, so it felt like you were present in the world around you. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. It's
Oh yeah, so
in
that
the
was
gym. It's like mind to muscle connection. Like they
Exactly.
say, like
Yes.
as you're doing curls, you're looking at your bicep or you're feeling it. Like your homie touches your back to like initiate
Yeah.
the
To find the muscle that you need to stretch. Exactly.
right,
So that was what it was doing, but in a solo kind of perspective, I guess. So like what you were saying with the biceps. So
right.
that kind of mindfulness was more so for like maturing of the body, whereas this one would have been more of like maturing of the mind.
Gotcha,
So,
gotcha.
mhm.
And in that like maturing of the mind, dude, I didn't even know you had a therapist. I didn't know you were struggling with identity and
Really?
this like. Dude, this you didn't, dude. You did not tell me about this, and
Well, that's true.
that's
I didn't
partly
tell you
on
about
me,
my girlfriend
dude.
cheating. Oh no, that's fine.
No, no, dude. Like you gotta understand, like that's partly on me because um I gotta ask those questions. That's what
Oh
we're
yeah,
for,
yeah.
and that's what we do. And I've always been there. Like if you needed something, you know who to call. But
Oh,
I need
you
to be
know
better
what?
at outreach.
No,
Um,
no, no. I totally get it. But do you remember sophomore year when I think it was when Kennedy had like pretty badly broken up with me? And it was like it was
mm,
mutual. I wasn't the best boyfriend. She wasn't the best girlfriend. We were young. It was stupid. But I remember specifically I was really in my like depression, like really in the feels, and I remember specifically you were the one that like really pulled me out of it. I remember that because I think it was something to do with where I was sitting at lunch or whatever, because I felt such not guilt, but like this is like me. I never really expressed this, but I felt bad for choosing that girl over the boys for
mm,
like that long period of time, because I didn't sit with you guys at lunch really during that sophomore year. But then I know that was what brought me back was having you just kind of you didn't even really talk to me. You just were there, and having that presence that was what I
dude,
needed. It was perfect.
dude, I appreciate that because it goes both ways. When my dad moved to New York, it was like it was that similar sense of like I need to find who I am, without this person, you know,
Hmm.
and it was definitely a struggle with identity,
Hmm.
without a doubt. But again, it was like the presence of you guys, the presence of you in particular. It was a you guys got me through it, and
Hmm.
that's what we do. And I do think as I've matured, you obviously get better with age, and I've realized that talking about these problems and talking through it, definitely is beyond important.
Hmm.
And I'm glad you got therapy. I didn't know there
Oh yeah.
was like it was that bad,
Hmm.
and I'm sure like you've battled your own um, demons and gone through your own journey. Talk to me a little bit more about that. Like you talked about identity, but what else were you, I guess, looking for in therapy? And if that's too far, you let me know. And
I don't know. That's fine. That's fine. I know. For me at least, I think that was the main thing. Was mainly just like identity and more understanding of my emotions. Because like in the nicest way possible, as guys, we aren't really taught. We're taught like put it aside, keep going. Like
right,
put those emotions aren't important. So to go to therapy and be given the opportunity and being told that it's like your your emotions are okay. It's okay to feel what you feel. You know, that was like huge for me at the time because like
right,
not knowing who I was, not knowing how to feel, it was like a bunch of like I don't know what I'm doing. So having that kind of place where I could set aside and be like, this is where I know I can feel the way I feel and understand it. I think that's what really helped me mature and really understand like it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be overly energetic about a topic. So it's
right.
like stuff like that.
Right. And so I always thought this was interesting. I never fully, I don't know, analyzed therapy like this, but people love to compartmentalize. Like you go to the gym, you're working on your physical self. You go to a library, you read a book, you're working on your mental. You sit down and do homework at your desk. You're working on your education, you your job, you're making money, whatever. But when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to like going to therapy, it is so intentional in finding mental growth and finding that mental processes and like breaking down barriers and walls that you're probably not comfortable with doing.
Mm-hmm.
like, it was that new? Is that scary? Like, what your first session? Like, were you fully transparent, like self-aware? Like,
I will admit that, like, my first session, I was just as basic as you could go. I was not really diving into myself. You know, I didn't really express the bad things I had done, the stuff that I was like afraid to say out loud, like things like that, you know, where it's like it was something that was a hard adjustment to put my everything to let all of me out to this complete stranger, you know?
right?
And I think that was something that is really important when it comes to therapy is finding that comfortable space, you know? Because I
Right.
mean, if you don't have someone who you're comfortable with, you're not doing therapy right, you know? Like that's
No,
just that
exactly.
therapist. It's not that the therapist is bad; they're just not right for you, you know. And that's what I had with my first therapist. Is she was great. She taught me a lot with mindfulness, but there was a point in time when it was like I don't feel comfortable sharing some things with
Right.
her. And then I ended up getting this new guy, and he was great. He was awesome, and he
Right.
taught me a lot of stuff. And he was like he was very chill with me. He would swear all the time, and I loved that. So,
Good. Yeah. No, and that's how the communication should be between you and the
mhm.
therapist. It should just be real, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's good. I'm glad you found that.
Mhm.
So what time? What, like, time wise? Where is this? Like, you graduate high school? Were you
Mhm.
already seeing the therapist before, or were you? Did you start
It was
seeing the
more so like after I
college
would say my first semester. I would say because that first semester
of
I was
college?
super yeah, of college. I was super like secluded. So I'd go home. Like I'd go to my classes. I would be there, and then I would just go home. I'd go home. I'd go to my dorm, and I would do whatever homework, do whatever I needed to. I wouldn't really go out. I wouldn't socialize. I was just there. That room was my
Right.
home. That room was my everything. And it didn't even help that I had a roommate because he got a girlfriend like week 4 or 5. So, I mean, he was there. He was with the girlfriend 24/7. He'd sleep over at her place. He was there. So, the only
I
time I
remember
would
that.
see him, I remember, because it was so funny, he would only be at my dorm exactly at 5 to change into his robe. He'd go take a shower, come back, change into a new outfit, and then he'd leave. So, he
Right.
would only be in the room for like maybe 10 minutes a day, So,
Right. So when it
it
came
was an
to,
adjustment.
so was there any part of you that wanted to just move back? Like, fuck Flagstaff, fuck NAU, like, I'm just going back home.
I
Like, I
think,
miss my
I mean, of
family.
course,
I need
there
to.
was that thing. There was that need to be like, oh, I want to go back to the boys. I want to what's the point of being here? Everyone who I know I'm comfortable with is at home.
Right.
But a second part of me was like, I know that this will help me grow. And I know
Mm,
that second semester, because I started doing therapy that first semester, but once my second semester of freshman year started, is when I think I really tried to is when I really had to kick that shell open.
right.
So, like I said earlier, and once that shell was open, it opened a whole new part of me, and that's when I met my current girlfriend, who we've been together for like almost 3 years now. So it's like with that and with that kind of mentality, and the fact that we've been extremely communicative, or at least trying. I'm trying my best to be, because it's not like an
Yeah.
overnight type of thing. I'm still working. I'm
Right.
still trying to be the best version of myself that I want to be. Not the one that I need to be, but I want to be. Because I
Right.
think your wants and your needs are important when it comes to those things. So.
Definitely. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it is all a process, and I am fully in the camp. I've said this on the podcast a bunch, but progress is the ultimate pursuit. It's a battle of you versus you, and you just have to figure out, like, how am I going to be the best version of myself. So,
Mhm.
I fully align with what you said there.
Mhm.
But when it comes, you referenced this earlier. You said that first girlfriend cheated on you. And
Mhm.
was that during your therapy? Like, were you already in therapy before that happened,
I was
or did
not, no. So
so that
that
that was probably
was a
like the
whole
breaking
thing.
point to where
Yeah.
you're like, I need therapy. How,
Mhm.
like, okay, this might be personal. You can tell me, but in regards to her cheating on you and
Mhm.
connecting that to your identity, like, what, like, how do those correlate? Because I have my own
So
story, and I'll let you go first. But
okay, yeah,
it,
yeah. So I think with me, I think it was something I realized pretty quickly. Was that I had very much been adapting myself almost, or like I would pick up traits from a girl or a girlfriend, whatever, and that would become a part of who I was. And when I was cheated on, it made me realize that there was a part of her I didn't know, which made me feel like there was more to me that I didn't know, you know?
wow,
Because it was like, if I don't know this about a person that I'm supposed to be putting my full trust into, what exactly do I know about myself? You know, it was like
right,
it was a big mental thing, but it's hard to put into words. But it was just a whole uphill battle with that thing because when she cheated on me, and it gets even deeper than that. There's like a lot more down there, but I don't think it's appropriate for a podcast
right.
personally
No worries. Yeah,
because I don't know what you're how I just don't know.
don't know what. Right.
I just don't know what I would say is appropriate to say on a podcast on yours
Yeah,
specifically. I don't want to like yeah,
you're perfect. You're perfect.
but let's just say there was another problem that happened after her cheating, and
Okay.
because of that, she pretty much well not forced me, but I felt such guilt that I wanted to stay with her, and then
Right.
that only lasted like a few days, and then she was like, I think it's best we see other people, and then she went and like fucked like 40 guys. Doesn't matter, but um, I'm
So
hugely
sorry,
exaggerating.
bro.
I'm hugely exaggerating, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it was for
I
the
know what you're saying.
best. I mean,
Yeah,
at that point in time, I was heartbroken. I was like, what did I do wrong? What did I do? But being where I am now and actually having one of my friends from college, he just recently had I'm going to keep him nameless just in case,
yes,
but this friend of mine, he he recently broke up with his girlfriend, or she broke up with him because she fell out of love with him, which is
right,
like, and he blamed himself, and he was constantly beating himself up. And the biggest thing I kept telling him, because I have that experience of like someone who's, it wasn't the same situation, but similar, of like someone where they fell in love, fell out of love. I expressed to him, it's like, dude, this is just something that's just, it's completely out of your control. You did
right.
nothing wrong. You're not the bad guy here. You don't need to beat yourself up. I understand that's like a knee jerk reaction. It's something that all of us do, that it's like when something goes wrong in a situation that you think you have complete understanding of, and it all of a sudden hits you to left field or whatever, like something comes out of nowhere.
No, it's true.
Um, it's something you have to understand and eventually get over, that it's not in your control. This is not something to hurt yourself over. Like even if it's like mentally, physically, whatever, you know.
Right. It's
So
never a thing you should hurt yourself physically over. You know.
100%, yeah.
And I'm fully in that camp of
Mhm.
just like it. The relationships and breakups, they're hard. Like
Oh
breakups
yeah,
are designed to be like that. You know, it's
yeah.
not
They're
supposed to
just
be
they're
easy.
tough. They suck.
They're they're fucking tough, dude.
Yeah.
I had like a similar situation where my partner was very, she never physically cheated, but she mentally was like, oh, I imagine what my life would be like with this person. And
Mm,
I was living with her, and I remember her saying that, and I was just like, the fuck? Like, what did it mean to you? And
yeah.
she's like, oh, it meant nothing. And I just blew it under the rug. Because I'm not a jealous type. Like, I know the value I bring, and I'm
Hmm.
pretty confident in me. But I did hit a point, like, dude, where I was just like, fucking identity crisis, to where I was like, is this not what she wants? Like, am I not providing? Like, what is it? Like, I
Hmm.
provide financially, I provide physically, I provide mentally, in all these ways, and nothing
Yeah.
was enough. And when nothing was enough, and she's telling me that she's like imagining what life would be like with other people, you end up in this root of comparison. And I was just in such a bad place mentally, and I really, dude, it took so long to like find myself, but
Hmm.
I just knew it. It was like you said, like when you moved to Flagstaff, you knew this is gonna make you tougher, and that's
Hmm.
how I felt in my head. I was like, this is gonna make me fucking tough. Like I
Hmm.
have to go through this, and I have to get through it and end up on top. And
Hmm.
that's where I feel I ended up. but it's not like I literally had to gamify the situation like that. I was like, this
Mhm.
is a fucking war of attrition, and I don't know how long it's gonna go, but I know I'm gonna last longer.
Yeah,
Like I'm gonna do it,
yeah,
and that's how I felt. So I really aligned with what you said in regards to that identity crisis that you
yeah.
had. And did you experience the comparison end of that cheating, if you don't mind me asking? Like,
What do you
did,
mean by
like
comparison end?
for instance, like in regards to my situation, when she
Mhm,
was talking to me about imagining a life with that other person, I was
mhm.
just like, holy shit. Like I started comparing myself to
Oh,
other
oh,
people,
oh,
and
oh,
I was
yeah.
like, did you go through that?
Oh, 100%. It was something that was like, it's not even a jealous thing. It's a self-deprecating thing almost,
Mm,
where it's like, I, why would I, how do I explain this? Like, if I'm so, like, what do I bring to the table? If I don't bring that to the table that she is having to imagine an entire different situation for, or in my instance, where she had to go and cheat for, what is it that I'm not providing
right.
that would prompt her to do this? That's prompting her to do that. Because then, especially if your partner, not specifically a she, is just sweeping it under the rug like it's nothing, then clearly it's something if they're going to brush it off like it's nothing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
At least to me, that's how I feel. But if it's like a situation where, like that, where it's like, okay, well, what am I not providing? What's got you thinking like this? What's that? And that's just where communication comes in. And if there's just no communication, there's no relationship, in my opinion.
Exactly. I agree
Mm-hmm.
with you wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
Communication's key without a doubt. And you touched on something where it wasn't, you said it wasn't jealousy, it was just self deprecation. And
Yeah.
that concept is so, is so multi layered and multifaceted. Where
Yeah.
did you see yourself? Because you just touched on, like, what am I providing? But
Mm-hmm.
where did you like self-deprecate? Like what avenues did you look at yourself and you were like, I'm not good enough
Ooh.
here? Or because like I have this too, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, and I want to hear your story next. But
Yeah.
yeah, with this one at least, with my situation of the cheating problem, of course, my mind went to, am I not good at sex? Like,
Mm,
am I really that bad at bed? But also, she was the one that took my virginity, so it's like I tried not to beat myself too much about it because it's like obviously I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. But to be put in a situation where it's like, oh, am I not making you happy? So then I remember because my mind spiraled when that happened. Because when I ended up finding her. I didn't see her cheat, but I found out about it and I went to her fully prepared to break up. And then situations happened while we were there, and I won't get into detail there because that's definitely a little too much for a
yeah.
podcast, like I was saying. But I was just in a spiral of like, did I do something wrong? Am I not providing a specific need? Is that need sex? Is it I'm assuming it's a physical need because it was a sexual act that took place. It's not like someone who you texted for a long time for, like looking for a new relationship, looking to connect with someone new. So it was something that just I was killing myself over pretty much. Like I was constantly hurt, like mentally separate, self-deprecating. I love that term so much.
Yeah.
Self-deprecating myself because I didn't know, I didn't have the control that I wanted. You know, I guess
Right.
that sounds kind of weird to say. Like I wanted
Yeah.
that control, but
Definitely.
like you know what I
And
mean.
yeah, and it's so funny. There's a John Bellion line where he's like, "What the hell is love if you're in complete control?"
Hmm.
And it kind of, in my eyes, that is like that is love. Like
Mm-hmm.
you forfeit control and you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about it. Like with
Yeah.
the right person, like you don't have to worry. Like you
Mm-hmm.
forfeit the control. I'm not like I've never been the type of like, let me go through your phone, let me do this. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
can't talk to this dude, whatever. I'm like, just
Mm-hmm.
keep all your friends. Like I work in adjunction to what you have already created. You
Mm-hmm.
know, this is your life. Just throw me in the mix, and that's how I've
Mm-hmm.
always viewed relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten me blessed me with very good relationships, but also very shitty ones. But
Hmm.
it's who I am, and it's like
Yeah.
I could change that, but I would never, because it's me.
Hmm. Yeah.
um and that's what I would want a girl to do to me. It's just
Hmm.
to jump into my life and be like, I'm gonna try and keep up.
Yeah, like accept you for who you are. I think that's the biggest thing in a relationship. I remember hearing something one time that I really really liked, and it was a relationship isn't about how much you like the person; it's how much you're willing to put up with what you don't like. If that
Mm,
makes any sense, because I think that's huge for me. Because of course, there's like in every relationship there is a fight, there is something that's like that doesn't sit right with you that they do. So it's like, for example, like my current girlfriend, they're not the most like adamant about video games, and I love video games. I play it all the time. That's
right.
my that's me. And even though it's not their most favorite thing to do, they have taken the time to like learn some of the games that I play, or to just give me the time I want to play. You know,
Right. It's
so it's
beautiful.
like having that kind of like understanding of like how much are you willing to accept, how much are you willing to like just put up with, I guess is the best way to put it in a different manner. because it's
Right.
I because it's never like you're putting up with a relationship. That should never be the case. If you're ever having to put up with someone, that's not love. that's
It's
that's just
not.
not love in my opinion. So,
It's not.
but I want to hear your story. What were you saying earlier?
Right. So I was talking about the self-deprecating
Hmm.
piece, and I think for me it was, I started looking at finances, and I was like, I'm not who I need to be.
Hmm.
And then I fucking went hard on work, like
Yeah.
like I went very hard, and I
Yeah, I
I
know.
and that was how the relationship was like unwinding. It was,
Hmm.
so there was that first experience of, she was like, I imagine what my life would be like with this, and then with this dude, and then there was another instance of, she was like, I just wanted this person's attention at work, so I kept flipping my hair, and I was like, well, what did that mean? And she's like, I just wanted him to say I was pretty. I was like, I say you're pretty like all the time, you know.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
saw where it was going. I saw where it was
Hmm.
going. I was like, this person's definitely like, gonna cheat on me, whatever.
Hmm.
And I was very controlled in that relationship. Like, it was like, I
Hmm.
can't see this. I can't see the homies. Can't do this, and it sucked. Like, I had to cancel meetings with women just because they were like of power, and it's
Hmm.
like, it was ridiculous. It was nonsense, but it taught me so much, dude. Like, I have no animosity towards this person. Like, I've gotten through all this alone, or
Yeah.
just emotionally, like, you know, just me on that front. And obviously I
Hmm.
have like great support around me. I'm never alone in that sense. But, you
Good.
know, just relationship wise, like, obviously, like, she was going through it, I was going through it. We didn't talk, which is good.
Hmm.
But in my eyes, like, I was so, I like, I wasn't insecure, but I was like, clearly, like, I need to succeed so fucking big to where it's a laughable thing. Like, she's like, make her feel bad, basically, of
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the best person, period. Like, I'm,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be the fucking best at what I do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
dominate the world, and she's gonna know my name. And
Hmm.
then I really was like going down that path, and I was like, I am fucking miserable because I'm working for not, like, these are things that I don't truly care about. Like, this person's not even in my life anymore. Like, why am I
Yeah.
trying to prove something to them? And I
Hmm.
I shifted my mindset of like, I need to go this hard at work for the
Hmm.
right reasons. It
Yeah.
cannot be for this girl. It has to be for me. It all
Hmm.
has to be for me. And at the end of the day, like, I love that line. It's Patrick Bet David. Like, they will know your last name. And he's talking to his dad, who had a heart attack, and he's like, they're gonna know your last name, and if they don't, they're gonna, like, they're gonna have to
Yeah.
kill me before they don't.
Hmm.
Whatever. And for me, it was like, I had that same mentality. I just had no clue how to get there. And after that relationship, I did have like this whole identity crisis where I was like, I literally went all in on this person. Like, I dropped friends, I dropped, my day-to-day routine just to be
Hmm.
with her. And I was like, who am I alone? And I was like, this is such a tough process. But once I got out of the relationship, I wasn't self-deprecating anymore. Like, I
Hmm.
understood. It probably took me like a month to be like, okay, like, I know I know where I'm at. I know what I have to work for, and I can't do this. Like I'm great, and I know I'm great,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. Like just leave it. Like
Mm-hmm.
just fucking have confidence in who you are. This person, their decision doesn't define you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, it was my shot to pull the trigger and leave, but I still felt such a like you were saying, like a guilt, like I left, when in all reality it was her actions that caused
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And when you're being told like this was your fault, it's like, how? But you start to
Yeah.
believe it. You start
Mm-hmm.
to believe it. You really do, and that's just human nature. Like if you're told something and it's someone you love, like their words still mean something. It still holds value.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my situation, and the whole self-deprecating thing is it's such a unique topic, and I'm really glad you brought it up because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
and just comparison. Mooney and I were talking about comparison, and going through that, like a relationship where your partner cheats. Like naturally, like your first instinct is like, what is wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's not an issue with you. Like it's not, and took me a while to realize that.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful it didn't get that bad. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's nothing but love to that person. She was amazing in my life, and you know just didn't work out. But
Mm-hmm.
with your situation and everything that you were going through, so you break up with her, you're in therapy, you're finding yourself, and you're struggling with your identity, but it's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you talked about, you'd go to the parties with the board games, you were out of your shell, and
Mm-hmm.
you met your partner now. Like, what happened there? Like, in that process, um, when did you fully start feeling yourself? How did you get there? And like, obviously, like therapy was a big part, but like, what were the outside factors or the external for you?
Um, there's actually a few things that come to mind, but first I want to say that that's super awesome of you for to be able to get out of that mentality that you had before, like after your
Mm,
relationship, and you took the month to really just like understand your emotions, understand the situation, and move past it. I think that's just extremely emotionally mature,
mm.
and I just want to
Thank you.
say that's awesome for you, because that
Thank you, man.
takes, I don't know anyone really who has that kind of like that self confidence that is able to just conquer that. So
Uh,
props to you, man.
thank, thank you, man. And it was a fucking process. Like it was,
Oh,
I
one hundred
literally packed
percent.
up all my bags and I just moved to Tempe. That was the,
Yeah,
and
no,
I said
fair.
goodbye to my family. I moved up here, and I just was like, I have to be alone. I cried all the
Hmm.
time. Like
Yeah.
I woke up, I felt numb, like I didn't feel anything, but it got better over time, and
Hmm.
I met some great people that really helped me with that. My buddy Bozeman, he
Hmm.
uh he was incredible in my life, and that guy really fucking he really was there. More than people realize. Like the people in my life were there more than they realize.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a beautiful thing, man. I really appreciate the comment. So
Oh yeah,
thank you, man.
absolutely, man. Heck yeah. But oh, I forgot the question. What
No,
was the
you're
question?
perfect. Yeah. So it just like after the therapy, after or like I guess during the therapy, really, and your post breakup, you're in
Hmm.
therapy, you're finding yourself, and you're finding your identity. When it came to outside or external things that you would do, like outside of therapy, what what were those? Like, were you lifting? Were you like, how did you mentally clear your head and like find yourself? More.
Hmm. I think for me at least, I noticed that even though I was stuck in this very much routine of like go to school, go home, get food maybe, but stay home most of the time. I'd leave when I'd have to. I
Right.
wouldn't I wouldn't casually just like leave and just go hang out with friends. It wasn't just something I was persistent about. And I didn't even tell anyone about this breakup for like well over a week. I think you were the actual only person I did tell the day of when we did break up in college. Because I do
I
remember that
remember.
I had snapped you a really long snap, and I was like, I really hope that this is like a good time for him and it's not like a really awkward snap. But I mean, you were super receptive to it, and it was great. But I know for me later
I
on in
think
that
we shot up
semester.
to see you.
That's
Like,
right. Yeah, yeah, you did. You
yeah.
you and Luke. the two of you
Yeah.
did come up, and we did some skating. We had some fun.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Definitely.
entirely what we did, but we had fun.
No,
Um,
exactly.
oh yeah. And I know one of the things that really helped me, which my partner knows this, but not entirely, but was there was this girl that was in between that bad breakup and my current relationship, who I was interested in, never pursued anything really. I thought she was cool, and I eventually did ask her out, and I was very confident. I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna go great. She seems cool. I can at least get to know her first. Go on a few dates. And I remember specifically, she never did like let me know her response, because at the time it was like, I guess she was going. I don't even remember specifically, but she was like, let's plan something. I'll let you know. And so I
Yeah.
took that as it is now in her ballpark. And I remember it took like, I want to say a month before I didn't hear anything. Like, it was very obvious that there was nothing that was going to happen. And I think in that moment, when I realized, I was just mentally thinking like, yeah, fuck this girl. And I
Right.
think that made me realize, it was like, I don't care. I
Mm.
shouldn't have to care. It's not like I can't let someone who wasn't even really a part of my life control it in any way. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, to really realize that it's like, I am my own person. I should
Yeah.
have control of my life, and I should
Right.
do what I want, like see who I want, talk to who I want. So I
Right. And
shouldn't like something like this small hold me back. So
exactly. And it's the people who feel the desperation that end up further behind.
yeah,
Once you're desperate for money, once you're desperate for love, that's when it never comes, because
yep,
you're you're
hmm
accepting fool's gold, you're accepting fake love, and it's not real. Like,
oh
once you
yeah,
realize I have the power, I'm the person that makes this decision,
hmm
you're a whole different person. And that's my best advice, like, I can give when it comes to like finding a job. It's like, the
hmm
moment you're desperate for a job is the moment you'll never be employed. And that, or at least that's how I feel. Of like,
hmm
you should walk into the job interview and they should have to also sell you on the
yeah,
position.
hmm
Like, but it's same for relationships, dude. It's like, this person has to, like, it's not just you have to, pitch yourself or like present yourself in a way that shows them that you're a good partner. They also have to do the same.
hmm
And the moment you just accept the first thing that's handed to you, it might not be the best choice. It
oh
really
yeah,
might. So
hmm
I'm glad you got to go through that. And how did that? So what was that thought process? Like, you face air quotes rejection, and
hmm
you realize this is the powers in me.
hmm of
Like
course,
not
like,
a
this
lot of
isn't the
people say
first
that.
time. Yeah,
Not a
yeah,
lot of people like go through that. Some people experience a rejection. They're like, man, like, I'm not
yeah.
enough. I do this, but like, what gave you the confidence there?
I think it's not like this is even the first time I've been rejected. Like, I've been
Right,
rejected tons of times beforehand in high school, but
me
I
too.
think with this one, it was different, because it's not like I didn't have the boys to lean on. I didn't have the boys to be like, hey, hype me up. Like, I'm still cool. I'm still got this. Like, it was me who had to do that. I had to fully tell myself, like, yeah, fuck this girl. Like, I know I'm awesome. I know I have a lot of potential. I know I am a great person. So it's like, being able to hype myself up made me realize, like, not only my self confidence, that I did have some, but it also made me realize, it's like, this is who I am. It's not someone else just hyping me up. This is
Right.
me telling me who I am. It's I know that this is how I feel, because it's coming from myself. If that makes any real sense, but
Yes, dude.
I don't know. There's just something
That's
different about
beautiful.
hyping yourself up. It's, at least for me, it's always been something that's like, oh yeah, it feels different. It's always cool to get a compliment from a buddy, but like, to tell yourself, like, damn, you did really good on that test. You really studied hard for that. It feels different. It's like, wow, I really did. I really did just put a lot of effort into this. I really did just like accomplish something I wasn't 100% in.
Right. And it comes
So.
from within. Like, all of
Mhm,
that comes from within. Like, if you want to, I always tell people, because I had a buddy, he was asking me, he's like, how do I know what to post on LinkedIn? And I
mhm,
told him quite simply, I was like, you post whatever you're passionate about. You post
mhm,
what represents you. It's your personal brand. You know, at the end of the day, it is, what are you willing to like give yourself a pat in the back for? You know,
Hmm.
and it doesn't matter who sees it. Fucking like, if no one were to see it, what would you do?
Hmm.
You know, and what
Yeah.
would you put out there? Like, you're living your life. Like, find the things that you're passionate about, and
Hmm.
be your number one supporter. And that's how it should be. Like, with my social medias, that's how I treat it. I'm like, dude, if I were the only viewer of this is what I would want documented still,
Hmm.
and this is the shit I would tune into in my own life, you know. And I
Yeah.
hope my kids feel that way, of just like, you know, I want to show them the process and show them everything that I went through, and you know, I hope they feel that way. And that's what this
Hmm.
podcast is for. You know, just future generations of the Bradleys, and
Yeah.
for them to get to know like the people that were in my life and the people that I'm
Hmm.
closest to. Um,
Yeah.
you know, so man, you just brought up like such a good point of like finding that inner confidence and just realizing like, this is me. Like,
Hmm.
I'm him. Like, I'm not gonna let this girl dictate like my emotions.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so when it came to you finding your partner now, like, what, like, you let your walls down and she came in, or
Um,
did you have your
it
walls
took a.
up? Did you have a
I
high
had my
guard?
walls up for a while, a good
Okay.
while. I would say at least a year. Like honestly,
Wow.
I would say a very long time. It took a lot of effort on both parts, not just like for my partner to like help me break down these walls. Like I had to manually do it myself as well because it was something that because I was cheated on, it was what did my therapist said it was a trauma response. I don't fully agree with that. I think I mean it makes sense in context, but I don't think just because I had trust issues after that, I don't think that'd be a trauma. I guess maybe I don't know. Anyways, but it was having that because my trust was broken so heavily and in such a in a violent manner almost. Um, it was something that was really hard for me to give out again, you know, to
Right.
fully become vulnerable again. And I know specifically with my partner, the one time that that really I almost forced myself to feel how I felt was it's gonna sound really dumb, but when I was in my second semester of college, I was in a jazz class and I was playing the trumpet. You know, I love the trumpet still. I haven't played it in years, but this was like the last semester I'd end up doing it, and I was playing it. I was doing okay. I was never the best soloist,
Right.
and I was given a solo. I tried my best. I didn't do very good. I ended up getting it taken from me, and like the teacher took it from me and gave it to another kid. And I remember at the time, I played it off like, it's whatever, you know, one less worry on my plate, you know, like this is not that bad for me. And I remember expressing it to my partner and then breaking down crying because even though it is like I play trumpet, I checked recently, like I counted, I've played trumpet for 11 years now.
It's crazy.
So it's something that's been a huge part of my life. Like that's half my life right there. I've been playing the trumpet. So to be shown that like all these years of training, of playing, of doing all this was just broken down because someone else had a gift for it. It hurt, and I didn't accept that. But being with my partner, it was something that caused me to feel the way I feel, to put that trust in them. It was an opportunity almost that I didn't even understand at the time. Of course,
Wow.
now I do, but like that was a huge moment for at least me, and I know it was for them as well because that was the first time they'd seen me cry. That was like at least 5 6 months into the relationship.
Wow.
So
So
for us, that was a big step. That was a really big step. So it was like something that was really important to the two of us. That in the at the point in time, neither of us even realized how big it was. We were
right.
just there to comfort, like so.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
No, that's, isn't it weird how the, like, you probably didn't even think you were gonna cry going into that moment,
No,
huh?
not even close. I remember because at the time when I was in that band room and that solo was taken from me, I was relieved. I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to worry about like really putting my everything into this solo anymore. I can just focus on the songs, you know, what I'm already learning in class. I don't have to spend any extra time that I don't even have
Right.
to um to do this. But then being with my girlfriend, I realized that it's like, holy shit, this sucks. Like this is like a good chunk of my life is playing the trumpet, and to be rejected in a sense of my accomplishments sucked, and I didn't understand that at the time. So
Right.
mhm.
So you said you haven't played the trumpet in probably 11 years, right?
No,
And
no,
that,
no.
or my bad,
In
my
a,
bad. Like a couple years, you said. So sorry.
yeah,
You
yeah,
played the trumpet for 11 years.
yeah,
You haven't played it in a couple years.
yeah.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
No,
But
you're
the
fine.
he's like never played the trumpet, dude. This story is
I
from
never played
sixth
it.
grade. Yeah, no. The so with that, like, and you not playing the trumpet recently,
Mhm.
was that transition for your identity like different? Like, were you like, I don't get the satisfaction from music? What was that process like? Or
I think that was a pretty big thing for me too. Was like how involved I was with marching band. Like that was my high school. That was my family. Was my marching
right,
band. Like I became the drum major. I became this big leader for the band, and I knew what big of a responsibility it was, and I wanted it. It was
right,
something that I knew I could accomplish because of how, not even because of how confident I was in my skills. It was because of how much I knew this role was right for me, and like that's what inspired me to be VP with you and do all that kind of stuff. And being that drum major gave me that sense of like understanding of how good it feels to be in a family kind of representation with band.
right,
And so that was the mindset I had of band. So then I go to college, I'm thinking this is a family again. Everyone in college is like, they come from different backgrounds. It's completely unique. This is the kind of community and family I want. I was excited. And then immediately I was disappointed because this isn't a family. This was a competition. I'm competing against these other people constantly. It was a
right.
huge drama center. It wasn't a family. It wasn't unified. I felt extremely disconnected from the rest of my bandmates. And it was terrible. It sucked. I didn't like it. And so that deterred me from wanting to be a part of that. Because that
Mm,
community wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't the loving, the caring community that I wanted. It was a competitive family. It was something that was, we are here to win. We are here to represent something that's bigger than us. And for me, as much as I respected that, it wasn't for me.
right,
And so then I went into jazz band thinking it's the same thing. It's a smaller family. It's something that's, I understand it's a lot more difficult. It's something that's more keep up with the pace, but also it's music. To me, it wasn't something that's as serious. And that
right,
was my biggest mistake because I wasn't taking it serious when everyone else who's taking that class is taking it for their degree. They're taking it for their future. I was taking it because I like jazz, like not to quote the
right.
beat, but
Yeah.
it was something I was interested in. So to be shown that it's like that's not the environment this is anymore. That was a wake up call as well. It was like, yeah, I don't think band is my identity anymore. I need to find something new. I need to adapt, and that's when I actually ended up becoming way more involved in sports at school. So like right now, I'm still swimming for not for NAU, but with NAU. So like
Right.
I have my roommate, he's like a huge water polo player. So he's like really in the NAU team, he's in their club, blah blah blah. And I'm within a lot of the volleyball stuff here. I'm within swim. I do any sort of like IM leagues. I don't know if that's the same at
Yeah.
Tempe, but like I do all that stuff. It's just something that was a different community. It was something that I found a new home in because I could be myself. I could be what I wanted to be. So
Right. Dude, that is such a process, man. Like I
yeah.
can't believe you had to go through that as well because that was your identity. I never realized how
Mhm.
involved you were until I dated a girl that was in band and she was like, Dom was the fucking badass. And I was like, what
Oh
which
yeah,
one?
I forgot
You know?
about that girl. Yeah, that's right. No,
Yeah.
yeah, I put my heart and soul into that band,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that it's thrived. It's become even better than I ever like imagined it to be since I was there. Like
Yeah, dude,
they've won
definitely.
huge competitions, stuff like that. Like, and they deserve it. The band director, like his first year teaching was my first year there, so I grew with him, and to see that kind of growth in the band was amazing.
Right.
So I would love to say that I was a stepping stone for them. Like I helped promote the rest of like not only the teacher but the band to like a new height. And I understood there were roles in my thing. Like how do I put this nicely? There's always been, for drum majors at least, there's always that one drum major who's the super happy, super like nice one. Everyone loves her. And there's the super serious one that everyone's like, we respect you, but you're kind of a dick, you know? And I understood that when I became drum major, my co-drum major, her name was Kennedy, she was super like yippee joy, like she was the embodiment. Like if you could think of the joy character in Inside Out, she
Yeah.
was that character, like genuinely.
No, exactly.
And I knew
I
when
see it completely.
no, yeah,
I
seriously.
remember her.
Yeah. And stepping into that role, I knew that I was supposed to fill the shoe of the more stern one. And I think knowing that it helped. And even though I didn't, and I knew I could be funny, go get them kind of person, but I liked being that stern figure, that person that was like, okay, we gotta focus up, guys. We have we have a football game on Friday or something like that. We need to have everything ready to go so that we can be at our best. Because then
Right.
imagine what the crowd is going to be like. They will be looking at you. They're not just here for football. Like you guys are going to be on the field. You will take their attention, you know? Like this is like, they may be here just for the football, but even if they are, you're going to take that attention, you know?
Right.
And I think just having that kind of mentality really helped me then. I really wish I took that mentality and brought it to college, which of
Right.
course, like I eventually adapted, but it was something that took way too long and I regret it.
You regret
Because
it.
oh yeah, I regret it. If I had that my freshman year, oh my gosh, I'd feel so much better
Right.
about how I spent my freshman year instead of just secluding myself.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. So
but I
when
will
it
say that
came, go on, go on.
I was
Sorry.
just gonna say I think that community was just the biggest thing. With that
Definitely.
community was what made me who I was, especially in band.
Oh, dude, it is so different. Like seeing how that club and that group operates in comparison to other communities on campus. Like even in
Mm-hmm.
college, like I know this girl who's in band, and she just like that's all she talks about, and it's like it's a part of her, and she just loves it.
Yeah.
She goes to the football games and performs, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like her life kind of revolves around it, and it's like the most
Mm-hmm.
beautiful thing in the world. And like I that's how I am with work. That's how I am
Mm-hmm.
with what
Yeah.
I do, and it's like you can only learn from that mentality, and
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying, it was like you have to be the stern drumline instructor, and you had to get your team like on board when it came to leading a team, because there's obviously going to be people in the band who don't take it that serious, or like aren't
Mm-hmm.
as like this isn't that important, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to those people, like what would you do to like get them on board, or like see your vision, or
Mm-hmm.
kind of convince them otherwise?
You know what? I'm gonna expose this person because we both know him. But Luke was very much that person. He did not care at all about band. Couldn't care less.
Right.
And I remember
But very talented.
inspiring. He was very talented. He was
Right.
extremely talented, but his lack of motivation made him almost a hindrance sometimes. And I love the dude. He's awesome. But it took a lot of convincing and a lot of showing him like how everyone else felt and how his him doing what he was doing almost dampened things. And I had to
Right.
put him in other people's shoes. And I think that he understood. I think he very much understood. Eventually he got out of his like himself. He noticed like how it feels for other people. And I told him it's like this is a community. This is a family, This is something that
Right.
if you want to be a part of it, you have to put in a little bit more. And I think
Definitely.
he kind of understood that, but he was great. Yeah, no, he was. I know that once senior year came around, and of course, like COVID really hit us hard for band. It was just something that we really couldn't recover from. He didn't end up joining again for senior
Right.
year, which I totally understand because I mean, what's the point of band if you can't really do anything? Because yeah,
Right. Yeah. No.
there's no real band when it was COVID. It was just kind of the marching band was dissolved my senior year. So even though I was supposed to be drum major, I couldn't really be
Yeah, I
because
remember that.
there was no band to direct. So
Right.
it was disappointing, but it was like, yeah, I had to make do with the times. But before then, yeah, I mean, Luke was he was just someone that he wouldn't put his all into it, but when you were able to motivate him, when you're able to show him that it's like look at how hard everyone else is trying. Do you know how much it would suck to have you're that one person that didn't put in their everything like everyone else. Like we missed a few points. Like I didn't want to guilt him and be like, "Oh, you like because of you we suck." Like I just wanted to tell him that it's like if you put in more, we get more. We become better. Like everyone
Right.
becomes better, you know? And I think just having that kind of like understanding of like there are times to goof off. There are times to like slack. Like I get it, you know. It's 7 o'clock at night on a Tuesday and we're out here marching in the cold. I get it. I
Right.
don't like I was in that position. I was on the field with you guys. Right now I'm just standing here, which I feel like I'm freezing even more, but I'm not gonna tell them that, you know? But it's like to know the commitment level was important. It's okay
Right.
like it's okay to slack off. It's okay to take some time if you need it. But there are times when that's not okay. There are times when you really need to listen, to understand what's going on around you and stuff like that.
Right. Because at the end of the day, you guys are performers. You guys have
Mm-hmm.
an audience. You guys have to deliver. You
Yep.
know, and that to me, it's like your back is always against the wall. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like you guys always have to move forward, and you know, if someone fucks up, like you guys still play. You know,
Yeah, we
like
keep going.
it's
I
it's
remember
crazy.
my freshman year of college. So there was a game we were playing, and I don't know if you've ever noticed, but some college games, at least the kickers will get on the field while the band is still playing, and will
Yeah.
like practice kicks. Have you ever noticed that, like
Yeah.
once in a while? Yeah. So I remember specifically, like we always try and tell them, like, don't do that. You're gonna hurt a band member, you know. And I
Yeah.
remember this team did it, and they ended up leaving the I don't know what it's called, but like the rest that you put on the ball. You put the
Yes.
ball on it and then you could punt it.
Yeah.
They left it on the field and someone ended up breaking their ankle because they stepped in it and rolled their and they're holding a tuba. So this thing
Right.
is heavy already. And so to fall and not have the balance to support it, they broke their ankle in the middle of
Oh
a
my
performance.
gosh.
But we couldn't stop. But then afterwards, of course, like everyone immediately went to her side and like helped her and tried to make sure she was okay. But it was like it's something like that where we can't stop. We are performers. We have to try and keep moving. So like of
Did
course
she
I
keep
ended up
moving?
no, she sat down, she was like, fuck this. Because I know her
Right.
now. She's a very good friend of Sydney's, which was a huge coincidence.
Yeah.
Or my current girlfriend. And to have that, like for her to she was just like, I'm done. Like I'm gonna sit right here. I know what kind of pain I'm in. I'm not gonna even try.
Right.
So
Damn, dude,
but
that's
no, yeah, she
crazy.
was a trooper for that. She was honestly such a trooper for that. Because at the time, none of us knew she broke her ankle. We were just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, are you okay? Did you just sprain it?" She's like, "Yeah, I think I sprained it. I rolled it really hard against that kicking thing. That I remember because that team got heavily penalized for that by her school because
Really.
that's a big thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they ended up paying for her medical bills, which was pretty nice. So
Wow. Thank goodness. Yeah.
yeah, I know,
That's
seriously. Because I mean, that's their fault. We tell them don't go out,
right.
and they do.
Yeah. That's
So
unbelievable, dude. Holy
yeah.
shit. That's crazy. I'm
No,
glad
yeah,
she's
it's
good
crazy.
though. I'm
No, yeah, she's fine now. Obviously, that was like 3, 4 years ago now. But
right.
it's just like at the time, it's like I said, we're performers. It's something you, as a performer, you have to keep going. You, like you said, your back's against the wall.
Right.
You know.
So, Dom, we've covered a lot of ground in this
Oh yeah, a
last
huge
last
range of
hour
stuff.
hour and 5 minutes. I have one question left for you, dude, and
Mhm.
it's in the last 4 years. Last 6 years really. You know, I think that's like around the time range that we really covered in everything that you've had going on. Like,
Mhm.
what is the biggest piece of advice that you've been given, and what is something that what's the best advice you could give someone else, like a listener? You know, like what
Ooh.
those two questions, I think they encapture a lot of I don't even know, because dude, you have a lot of experience, a lot of perspective,
Yeah.
clearly, and even shit that I didn't know about.
Mhm.
And I think those two questions are very very powerful to kind of close these podcasts out with.
Yeah.
This is you're the first one I'm doing this with, so
Oh, really? Oh, ooh,
yes.
I feel special. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay, so to answer the first question, the best advice I'd give, I would say it's okay to mess up. Like
Mm,
mistakes happen. Like, but the biggest thing is how are you going to overcome them? Are you going to
right.
let them hold you down, or are you going to keep pushing forward and find ways around it?
Mm,
I think that's the biggest thing I would say is don't let your mistakes don't let your mistakes define you. You know,
wow.
find ways to improve.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I completely agree with that. And then
Heck
what's
yeah.
what's the best advice you've been given, and who is it from?
Ooh, oh man, I gotta think about this one. Um, I'd probably say maybe I think there was one from my dad a while ago that was he said something about like, oh, you know what? No, actually, there's something else I like a little bit better. It was from Mr. Crawford. I don't know if you
Mm,
remember him very
yes.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. C, our middle junior high band student success teacher, whatever. Um, I really liked the quote he said that has really actually stuck with me forever. As much as I didn't really like the teacher, um, he said, "If you're on time, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on
Mm,
time, you're late, and if you're late, you're lost." You
right.
know, and that has stuck with me forever. It's something that's like manage your time, like really know, like plan ahead. Like understand what's coming up. Like I'll admit something right now. Like literally, I don't know, 2 hours ago, whenever like just before this meeting, I applied for graduation. I don't
Wow.
graduate until May, but I'm ready. I'm planning ahead. I know I'm ready for it. I know I'm gonna graduate. It's
Right.
just something that needs to get done. So I want to get as much information as I can on that so I can, number one, give it to my family so they know when I'm graduating. Like I just found out I'm graduating May 9th at like 11 a.m.
Right.
So it's like, it's something that's like, it's so important to know your time, to know
Right.
information like that. So
Dude, and
that's
that
something
is
for that he's given me that I've really kept to heart.
that is such important advice, I think,
Mhm.
especially hearing that young, because that's kind of how I have to operate. It's like there's so many trips, there's so many fucking, like, 1 week you're in New York, the next year in Oregon. That it's
Mhm.
like it's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and it's like I need to know my schedule. I need to make sure I'm operating efficiently. And if
Mhm.
you don't know where your time's going, if you don't know, um, what you're doing, you're gonna be late. If you're
Yeah.
late, you're lost, man. And that
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
more of a it's more of a spiritual lost. Like it's
Mhm.
not necessarily physically. It's just
Oh
like
yeah,
if
yeah.
you show up late to something, like, yeah, you're
You're
probably
not
fucking
there.
checked
Yeah.
out. Probably
Yeah. And
checked
I
out,
think
dude.
like as a kid, like we heard that quote and we think like, oh, he just means like get to school. If you're on time at school, you're not really on time. You're not really there present. You know.
Right.
So like we always thought it in perspective of school, but now that we're older, we have lives, we have jobs. It's something
Right.
that's like, wow, okay, like I really need to plan ahead. It's something that's important.
No,
This
that's
isn't just
that's
about
fucking
like
beautiful, dude.
the small things. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And just to close this out, man, I wanted to say thank you to your family. Your family has been very, sweet to me, and that's
Mhm.
been my whole life, dude. Like your mom and your dad and even your sister, they've all been so kind, and I just wanted to say I appreciate you, appreciate them, and they thank you to the Colombos for giving me such an amazing friend. And
Well, thank
dude,
you.
and thank you for jumping on this because this has been a fucking
Absolutely.
blast.
Heck yeah, yeah. I'm glad to be here. I can't wait to see it up on the internet.
Yeah, dude.
I'll be watching. I'll be
For
ready.
sure, dude.
I'm gonna rewatch this whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I'll probably watch it twice, dude. Fuck
Yeah,
it.
fair.
But so Dom, I'm gonna just close this out. But with the podcast, I just need you to stay on because your video has to upload. It's already been
Okay, that's
uploading
fine.
like this whole time. But
Mhm.
yeah. But to the audience, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something about yourself in the process, and really appreciate you. Really appreciate Dom, and thank you guys.